Hello friends and welcome. Iron Talon is back, and although you might think it's just for cores who are about to head off into the jungle, I'm actually here to tell you that it is a pretty viable alternative to the Philosopher Stone for supports looking for gold. For your reference, Hand of Midas, the classic greedy farming item, is about 87 GPM, and yeah, there's more to that item like XP, blah, 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 whatever. But in terms of gold, which is what we're covering first, that'll just help you understand how much we're getting from these different items. So, Philosopher Stone, the one that support players love, it did receive a change. Boom Bust, the passive, it now has 750 charges, meaning you can get 750 gold from this item. Once you use up all of those charges, the item breaks. You get a bonus 375 gold, and then it's just gone. So, what this means is Philosopher Stone essentially has a 10-minute lifespan, and once you use it for 10 minutes, it is gone. And in that 10 minutes, you will get 1,125 total gold, which comes out to be about 112 GPM compared to the 75 GPM listed on this item. That's just counting this like burst of gold. Another way you could think of this is that it's 75 GPM for 15 minutes. And I think it's important to think about this value because in the previous patch, before it broke after 10 minutes, people would just keep the Philosopher Stone forever. That's why they loved it. You would get the tier 2. If you didn't like the tier 3, you would just keep the Philosopher Stone. Or maybe you wanted it for fights, but anytime there wasn't anything going on, you would just keep the Philosopher Stone in your backpack, swap it out, swap it back out when you need to. Or maybe you die, you put the Philosopher Stone into your neutral slot so you can get gold while you were dead. There were tons of uses for Philosopher Stone, and I would say it was pretty easy to get more than 15 minutes worth of gold. So this change to Philosopher Stone was a nerf to the item as a whole, but I do think that burst of gold is quite nice. Like say you get the Philosopher's Stone near 17 minutes, you use it for the 10 minutes, you get that extra chunk of gold, like 5 minutes worth of gold, all in an instance at the end. So when you are trying to save up for a big item, maybe in the mid game, this helps a lot. In the grand scheme of things, over a 60-minute game where the game's dragging out, then yes, the Philosopher's Stone is going to get you a lot less money than before. The Iron Talon is going to help you get gold by improving your farm speed, because when you use the active, which is only a 20-second cooldown, it removes 80% of the current HP from the target. Now, it can't be enemy summons like an enemy Enigma Eidolon. It won't work on Roshan, but it will work on any jungle creep, any lane creep, and so it'll speed up your farm a lot. Because if you think about the way we farm those camps, especially as supports, where we don't have as much damage as a core, like one-shot Battle Fury cleaving a whole wave, you maybe like use a spell on the camp, and maybe the small creeps die, but then there's one big creep left that we have to sit and kill. Well, the Iron Talon is going to help fix that by removing a ton of the HP of those big creeps. Your AoE spells or just your auto attacks can then finish off the rest of the camp much faster than before. So here's a table of the gold and XP you would get from different jungle camps, and then lane creeps at 15 minutes for your reference, which is about when you would get this neutral item. How many camps would we have to farm to get 1,125 gold, which is how much we would get from the Philosopher's Stone? Well, small camps, which I put on here for the sake of completion, but I wouldn't really include because the example I gave is that there's one big creep that kind of like slows you down when you're farming. Doesn't really exist in the small camp. They usually like all die to AoE spells pretty quickly. So it's just here for, reference. But looking at the medium, large, and ancient camps, especially as we get further down, you see it actually does not take too many camps to get to this 1,125 gold. And you would get XP from farming these creeps, something that the Philosopher's Stone does not give you. This is a good amount of experience that would help you hit an extra level or two. I don't know, it depends what level you're at. Now, what if we aren't farming the entire camp? What if we just target the biggest creep, because the Iron Talon only works on one creep at a given time? So I average the values for the different camps, and just so you guys know, the Centaur is the best medium camp creep you could get because it's technically a hard camp creep, and they just remove one of the little centaurs. So he is the most value. He's actually like double the value of everything else compared to the other medium creeps. So if you ever have a choice, pick the centaur, farm him. And then the hard camp, all the big hard camp creeps are actually worth the same, except for the Warpine, because there's 2 of them. So they're a little worse. Not that much worse, not a huge deal, but technically the worst. So if you like see a stack and you're picking like, ooh, which is the best one? Don't pick the Warpine, do pick the Centaurs. So to get that 1,125 gold, this is how many of the biggest creeps we would have to kill. Not the full camp, just like 14 of the like Black Drakes, 19 Centaurs. something like that. And then here's the XP you would get. I'm going to summarize it in this table here, the amount of big creeps you would need to farm or the full camps. And we're just going to focus on the medium, large, and ancients because those are the most relevant for the Iron Talon. If your first impression is like, that's a lot of farming to do in 10 minutes, you are kind of right, but there are more points to consider that make the Iron Talon more appealing than it may first look. For example, you are not limited to 10 minutes. The Philosopher Stone breaks after 10 minutes and you can't use it anymore, but the Iron Talon exists forever just like any other neutral item. So for the 17 to 27 minutes where it's the best neutral item you have, you use it, you get whatever farm you can. As you pick up a new item, you could use that, but you could just backpack the Iron Talon. And whenever you have a downtime moment, like your team just fed and you're like, well, I guess I got nothing to do in the jungle right now, pull out your Iron Talon, farm a camp or two, swap it back out as your team respawns, and go fight. So you actually have the entire game to reach this amount of farm or more. These are just the break-even points. If you use the Iron Talon to actually farm more than this, then it is helping you get more gold than the Philosopher's Stone would have. Some other elements you'll need to consider, because I can't quantify them for you because they're not really quantifiable valuables, is time spent farming. Although the Iron Talon does speed this up, it is time you spend killing the neutral camp, walking to different jungle camps. Sometimes that's okay. You guys have been in very passive games. You can tell, like, okay, we're going to 50 minutes. I might as well get as much gold as I can. And because of that, it's not a big deal to spend time farming. Or you are a support who is meant to scale up and build a lot of damage and get a lot of farm. Core players, that does exist. It's not totally griefing. Something like Hoodwink comes to mind. That could help you a lot. And in those cases, it's not a big deal to spend more time farming versus taking a Philosopher Stone. You get the GPM no matter what you do, so you can just join every single fight. You can go push, you can go ward, you can go stand behind a core who is farming and you're still getting gold. You can die and still get gold, so you don't care. You are more free to do whatever you need to do and still get the gold. There's also the actual net worth difference you are building. Simply getting gold does not mean you will win the game. That's why so many people will complain, like, I'm farming really well, I'm 6 slotted, how come I can't win games? My teammates must be too heavy. Well, I mean, that might still be true, but if everyone is 6 slotted, it doesn't really matter. If you're only farming your jungle and they're farming their jungle, you're not building any net worth difference. There's no advantage to win the game with. Iron Talon can help you steal enemy camps as you are running through, pushing an objective, placing a deep ward. Nothing is stopping you from popping the Iron Talon onto the enemy ancient creep, enemy hard camp, and just quickly stealing that creep away from the enemy. And although one creep may not make a big deal, you do that consistently because you keep playing aggressively on the enemy's half of the map. You keep stealing jungle camps and you don't have to wait there, slowly farming. Oh, I got killed because it took me too long, right? You're doing it really quickly with the Iron Talon, getting out safely and building an actual net worth difference to have an advantage with. There are also stats associated with these items, and this is where we can go down a whole rabbit hole of how this comes into play in a game. So Iron Talon is going to give you 20 attack speed, 4 armor. Philosopher Stone is going to give you 200 mana, but actually subtract 30 attack damage for you. So support players, I can guarantee you've taken this, 75 bonus GPM, so much money. You go to lane because your teammates died, you got to defend a wave, whatever. You go to last hit, you miss CS because you're losing 30 attack damage. At that point, how much extra gold are you getting for all the CS you miss? In a given minute, if you miss 2 CS because you've lost the damage, that is the 75 GPM bonus. You're no longer getting extra gold, you are breaking even. Or maybe you have a chance to farm jungle camps, and then you sit there tickling the creep to death because you're missing 30 damage. It takes you 5-10 extra seconds. In that time, you maybe could have gone to another camp, farmed that. You could have gone to place a deep ward. You could have gone to join a fight a little bit faster, right? The extra time to farm or possibly miss CS from that attack damage does matter when it comes to farming. And it's not just last hitting creeps, but actual heroes, kills, and deaths. So in a fight, if you've lost 30 attack damage, maybe you're not doing as much damage as you need to, or maybe you wouldn't have been able to use all your spells if you didn't take the Philosopher Stone and have that 200 extra mana. In the same way, a hero like Weaver or Mirana or Marcy, they would love the extra attack speed to do more damage in team fights, not just farming, but maybe they can actually get an extra kill because they were attacking a little faster and not missing 30 attack damage. Or maybe even a spellcaster support who took Iron Talon and doesn't really care about the attack speed, but that 4 armor instead of taking a Philosopher Stone for an extra like 1,000 gold and then spending half of that on armor, they just took the Iron Talon. Free armor instantly. You get to farm up whatever gold you get to, and that armor keeps you alive in a team fight long enough to use a spell and you get the kill, or you just live so you get the golden XP and you get the map control and towers and all that, right? Like, this is where Dota gets really complicated in the situations and how that exact gold value could come into play, but you should at least consider, what stats do I want in this game? I need armor, don't really care about mana. Both of these items will help you get gold if you use it in the way I described. So don't think of Philosopher Stone as like the only gold item. Both these items will help you farm. Maybe it's easier for the Philosopher Stone in some situation. Maybe there's more potential for the Iron Talon in others. But don't just consider the farm. Consider the rest of the game as well, the team fights, the map movements, all of that. Also, don't forget that the Iron Talon can cut trees every 4 seconds, like another purpose of the item, and that is really good versus like Nature's Prophet, Hoodwink, Treant, Timbersaw, Monkey King. I think that's all the tree-related heroes. There might be a couple other I'm forgetting right now. Pretty useful, maybe even more so than any of the gold or the stats. Like, if you just need to survive Sprout, that is free item. You don't have to keep a Quelling Blade in your inventory spot, Iron Talon until you get like a 4-staff. That's fantastic, right? That's so much value. And it opens up some warding spots for supports who are taking this item. I'm going to cover that in a follow-up video, so keep your eye out for that. But whatever your creativity can be, because there are maps, there's trees all across the map, like just cut a tree or two. It takes like 8 seconds as you're in the area. You might open up a really cool warding spot that no one would really expect, because usually you would never put it there because trees are in the way and they block the vision. But now you can actually create your own warding spot that is really cool and unique that the enemy team probably won't find. And with that vision, maybe you get a kill, maybe you avoid a death, maybe that opens up some farming speed. So you see, it's like, it's all connected. I can't make it easy for you guys here at the end. I don't have a definitive list of like who would take one or the other. I would say supports who can farm through their spells, like Crystal Maiden, Warlock, Witch Doctor, they really shouldn't be right-clicking in team fights typically, right? Probably safe to take Philosopher Stone. Anyone who scales with right-clicks really wants to lean towards Iron Talon, like Weaver, Wind Ranger, Marcy, those types of heroes. Iron Talon going to be better. But I do think there's quite a lot of overlap now for quite a lot of supports. You could consider one or the other depending on what you wanted from it. So if nothing else, I hope that's what you get from this video, just to open up your minds to the idea that Iron Talon could be a support item, and I think it's pretty good. I've been taking it on a lot of supports. People I think like Philosopher Stone makes more sense. I've just been taking Iron Talon anyways to test it out, and it ends up feeling pretty good. Oh man, Jupiter, we almost made it to the end of the video. Jupiter is a big Iron Talon and a Hand of Midas fan, and he wanted to get in the video just to share that. You can take advice from my cat if you want, but I would not recommend that. I can't think of a support that would want both of these items pretty consistently right now. I think just Philosopher Stone or Iron Talon as a farming item to get whatever else you want is pretty good, and then you just swap it out at tier 3, or it breaks in the case of the Philosopher Stone, and then move on from there. So, hope you guys found this video interesting, gave you a new idea. Let me know down in the comments. Keep an eye out for that warning video follow-up, and maybe I'll see you there. Bye!